We're group 26 and this is our auction website demo. Starting on the user registration page, I've already filled most of the form, but I've intentionally left the username and the password fields empty. During registration, the system checks whether the username is already taken to ensure that no two users have the same username. The system also checks for password validations to make sure that the passwords are secure. Behind the scenes, the passwords are never stored in plain text. Everything is securely hashed. And finally, the user chooses a role, either a buyer or a seller. When I try submitting the form, you'll see the validation prevents the registration form from going through. And importantly, all of my previous inputs are kept. Only the incorrect field needs fixing. As you can see, the registration has been completed successfully. Now I'll test the forgot password functionalities. I'll enter the email we used to sign in and click send reset link. If the email exists, our system sends a reset link to that user's inbox. Here in my email inbox, I can see the reset password email, and I'll click the link to reset my password. I'll set a new password with a different length just to demonstrate it works with any valid secure password. After resetting the password, we will be redirected to the login page. I'll try first logging in with the old password. And as expected, the system rejects it because it's no longer valid. Now I'll try logging in with the new password. And as we can see, it successfully worked. When a buyer logs in for the first time, they're redirected to a quick setup page where they can choose their preferred categories. After logging in, we are welcome to the main dashboard. This page adapts depending on whether the user is a buyer or a seller. For buyers, the dashboard shows quick action like browsing auctions, viewing their bids, checking their watch list, as well as looking at their recommendations. On the right-hand side, buyers also get a small recommendations panel showing the top items that might be interested in. This makes the dashboard a central hub tailored to each user's role.
Let's delve into the functionality of users who are sellers. You can see I have a login page for a seller account and that they can either create or manage auctions. If we go and manage auctions, we can see a list of all of the auctions that this particular user has created. Now we can actually view one of these auctions, and this goes on to the first extra feature we've implemented, which is you can see whether this current highest bid matches the reservation price. In this case, it has not. But if we go to something like Rare Bicycle, where the reservation price is around $700, that the highest bid is $900, and therefore the reservation has been met. Now, if I want to go ahead and create an auction now, you can see this form that I must fill in, and it will not let me submit incomplete information. And so for the sake of time, I have this MacBook Air auction that I would like to create. Now, if I go ahead and visit this, I can see the second extra functionality that I've implemented, which is that you can see images for this auction. The final extra functionality, which is quite interesting, is end auction early. So if you have an auction that has no bids, you can decide to end the auction prematurely, as I've done here, and you can see that you can no longer enter bids for anyone. The area is grayed out. But for something like custom surfboard, the end button is grayed out because you can see that there have already been bids placed.
The next section will cover placing bids and recommendations. We'll start on the dashboard by selecting the Recommendations tab. This area is divided into two sections. The first is your recommendations. This finds auctions based on specific categories you have selected during registration, as well as items you currently have in your watch list. Below that is suggestions for you. This section highlights popular items specifically from categories you've bid on in the past. Let's view an auction in detail. Here, you can view the item specifics and scroll down to see the live bid history. To participate, simply enter the bid amount into the field and confirm. Once processed, you'll see your new bid appear immediately at the top of the bid history log. You can navigate to the My Bids page to track all your active and past bids. Here, you can see the item, the exact bid you placed, and if you're currently losing, the system calculates exactly how much higher the current top bid is in comparison to yours. You can also see the status of that auction: winning, meaning you hold the highest bid; outbid, someone has a bid higher than you; reserve, not met, meaning you have the highest bid but it's still below the seller's minimum price; and lost, if the auction is ended and you don't have the highest bid. You can also track the remaining time of the auction and the date your bid was placed. If you've won an auction, the status will change to won and it will be highlighted.
To show you more, I'll be demoing auction browsing and watch lists. Navigating to the Browse Auctions page shows us all of the existing auctions for buyers. For filtering, buyers can choose between a keyword search, category filters, or sort by closing time or price. They could do something like search for a drone. They could reset to go back to the original data, and they could choose multiple categories like fashion and art and filter by price. They could also choose to show inactive auctions in order to view history. Once they apply those changes, they can look down and they see all of the filtered data based on their requests. Another thing users can do is they can add auctions into their watch lists by tapping this heart, as well as going to the watch list page and seeing that the auctions that they have already watchlisted. Now let's turn our attention to the notification feature. There are a couple of types of notifications in this project, including when a seller receives a new bid, when a seller's auction ends, when a buyer is outbid, when a buyer's watchlist item gets a new bid, when a buyer wins an auction, and when a buyer bids and the auction ends, but the reserve price is not met. For the sake of time, we will only demo the notification of a buyer getting outbid and a seller getting a notification for their auction ending. As we can see, I have 3 windows open. The first one on the left is the seller. The 2 tabs on the right are the buyer, each running in a separate browser session thanks to private browsing. To start, I am going to end the auction from the seller's account, and then I am going to wait for the notification to come in, and we can see that we received a notification for an auction ending. We can also see that we have received a new notification email. 10:36, click on it. It says an auction ended with no bid and the information here. If we go back here, we can see in the buyer's view, or before that, I can also mark it as read. And once I do that, it will basically remove it from the notifications. Going back to the buyer's view, I can add an auction to my watch list, and I can also make a bid to this auction. Let's say 250, and then I can use the second buyer to look for the same auction and then outbid the previous buyer. So we can see that Ziad made a $250 bid, and then a $255 bid was made by test buyer. What this means is Ziad should now have a notification that is sent saying that you were outbid on the lawnmower, and also it says that a new bid is placed on a watch list item in your an item in your watch list.